Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I got a post here from Token Relations. Shout out to NotJack for sending this to me, friend. That's much appreciated, and I think you guys are going to want to see this. So, they say, the amount of Hedera developers hit a new high on the month. This is the most among all layer 1 blockchains aside from Ethereum. Impressive, very impressive. And so I just wanted to get into this and say why I think this is a big deal. Well, look, first and foremost, let's get into it. Like, there's what, 20,000 plus different cryptos out there at this point in time. Ethereum is the top 2 cryptocurrency. So to go from Ethereum then to HBAR, that's a pretty big jump, right? To go from Ethereum to HBAR, because HBAR isn't a top 5 cryptocurrency, right? It's not. So the fact that it's going from Ethereum then to Hedera, I think that shows a lot about Hedera and what people think about the technology, right? So when people talk about HBAR being competition for Ethereum, I think this kind of shows you why they look at it in that way, right? Because the next development in terms of activity, developer activity, is going from HBAR to Ethereum. So it's literally in competition with Ethereum. And so, as I've said numerous times in the past, the reason why I believe Ethereum is where it is because of first mover advantage. I think that's just what it is. I think as, you know, this space progresses and they start to understand, okay, what networks actually have the cheaper and faster technology, I think they'll see that Ethereum does fall short in that regard. And I'll be honest with you, just on a quick side note, I do think Ethereum have very shady dealings, in my opinion. There's been things that I've seen from the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. There were shady things going on there. I think they are doing like paid things as well to kind of get into certain places. That's just my opinion. But look, at the end of the day, let's just stick to the facts of the matter. Hedera is right there behind Ethereum. That speaks volumes, in my opinion, in terms of HBAR and the hashgraph as technology, because that shows you that developers like Hedera, because it's not about where it is, where it's positioned in like the top 10, top 20, whatever. It's about the technology, right? That's why they're choosing Hedera, clearly, because of the technology. They think it's a great network to develop on. The other thing that I want to say about this is, what you've got to understand here, in regards to it being like one of the most developed on networks, what you've got to understand is, okay, like when it comes to this technology, right, and its success, let's just say there's just one use case that ends up being absolutely huge. Someone just creates one use case for Hedera and it just blows up incredibly, insanely, right? That one use case could be the whole factor of Hedera's success. Now, look, I will be completely honest here. I don't think it will depend solely on just one use case. But what I'm saying is, the more people you've got developing, the more ideas that are being brought to the network. And what I'm saying is, if one of these, ideas, these use cases really, really does take off, that could add huge value and volume to the network, right? And then let's just mix it up a bit more and add more to it. There could be numerous use cases that end up being successful, right? Like, I've covered so much HBAR content in my time. Obviously, you can check my archive if you want to see that, but there's so much positive things going on with Hedera, so many great use cases. If any of these, as crypto gets more adopted, really take off, that's all going to add to the value coming to HBAR over the long term. And so why this is a big factor in knowing that, these developers are coming to Hedera is, one, it shows that they really like the technology, which is important, because when it's all said and done, what's really going to bring value to these networks overall in the long term? It's not going to be speculation forever, right? Like, yes, we have these bull runs, these ups and downs and stuff like that, where it's really just built on, like price speculation. But eventually it's going to come down to utility. It's going to come down to the networks that are actually being utilized for things. And so the institutions and people will deem these networks valuable and the tokens valuable because of the things that it can provide, right? Like the utility it can bring, the change to the industries that these tokens and these networks can provide. And so, in my opinion, like when you're seeing this should tell you a lot, because you've got a whole bunch of cryptos out there that can all do things in their own way, right? Each network has its strengths and weaknesses, but the fact that after Ethereum, you've then got Hedera right there, to me, that speaks volumes about what people think about Hedera's technology. I think that just tells you all you need to know. And for me, that could be a very indicative point of Hedera's future, right? That could be showing you exactly where Hedera is heading long term. You know, you might be seeing an early preview of where Hedera is going to be, you know, fighting for that number 2 spot to take over Ethereum. So look, I've said it before in the past, I'm not so sure in terms of Ethereum where it will be in the long term. I will say this, like, because of the way, you know, Ethereum's going, like, I have to be honest and say they've got a few partnerships and stuff like that going on now where they seem to be solidifying themselves a bit more. I do find it very surprising, again, because at the end of the day, the technology just falls short. It just does. And like, this is the thing, like, please understand, like, this isn't a thing where I dislike Ethereum, because at the end of the day, it's just a cryptocurrency, right? Like, I dislike some of the shady antics that some of the people behind it have done, but at the end of the day, Ethereum is just a cryptocurrency. So when I am judging Ethereum, I really am judging it genuinely on its shortcomings. I'm genuinely basing it off of me actually using Ethereum in the last bull run and knowing how much of a hindrance and a hassle it was, and comparing it to other cryptos that I've used that have been so much better. So I really am just saying it in the general sense of I know this crypto isn't really great when it comes to trying to scale, you know, and at the end of the day, I just think logically, at the moment, they might still be getting a lot of traction, but I feel like when, you know, we get regulations and things like that, and they are looking more at, okay, what's the cheaper option? What's the actual better performance option? What can actually scale? I'd be very surprised if Ethereum doesn't eventually kind of get left in the wind. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be very surprised at that, but who knows? Like, I'm not here to say 100% because I don't know. Like, there's been a few surprise things that I've seen, like, you know, Swift deciding to build their layer 2 on Ethereum. I'm very surprised at that. Like, again, I'm wondering if that's something where Ethereum have kind of paid their way into that position. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case at all, because Ethereum just isn't the best choice when it comes to this. It just isn't. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. But look, I think at the end of the day, overall, when it's all said and done, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, at the end of the day, you'll see the cream rise to the top. And in my opinion, I do see Hedera there. And I think this just shows you that the developers clearly see this too. You know, they're basing it on the technology aspect, and that's the fundamentals. That's what I talk about. So if we're talking about technology wise, clearly Hedera's the prime choice. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's clearly evident from what we can see here. So I thought this was really telling, even though it's like a small point. Like, I think to me, it shows you a lot, in my opinion. So I don't really take this as just nothing. I think there's something really here in that. And I think that tells you a really big indicator of Hedera's future. So yeah, we'll see how things pan out. But to me, this gives me a lot of confidence. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.